The value of human life is in the image of God. And each one of us, in one way or another, is a small reflection of who God is. In the image of God, man was made. That gives us a very high view of life and tells us how God looks at each one of us. On the other hand, we are told in the New Testament, in the book of James, chapter 3, that with the same tongue that we bless God, we tend to curse man, and that cannot be. There's a contradiction there. But the reason that James gives for arguing against doing that is precisely the image of God. We bear that image. And then Christ tells us that we should be peacemakers. And he says, blessed are the peacemakers because they shall be called sons of God. And that calling to peacemaking is a call to unity. And that is regardless of our differences. So in one hand, unity is the work of God, and then division is the work of the devil. Division only came into the world after the fall, after the corruption of the creation. And only pride and jealousy and envy and resentment and anger, those are the things that keeps us apart quite frequently. None of that is part of the image of God in us. So as someone said, there is community and in the unity of the Trinity from all eternity. So in one sense, the only thing that is going to glorify God is that unity that he enjoyed within the Trinity from eternity past.
Our image bearing of a holy God is the groundwork for our understanding of human dignity. And we know that life is the pendulum swings between human depravity and human dignity. But image bearing is where we find our dignity. And that right there is very new information. And that right there is where we need to start, because people are longing for dignity. Our friends and neighbors and family members who identify somewhere on the LGBTQ continuum, they are longing for identity. And it's a desperate desire for identity. I remember it. It's not that long ago. I was not lobotomized. Romans 1:26 really captures it for me, that if you cannot have a blessing from God, you will demand it from men. And you know what? Men can never give you the dignity that you want. The challenge is not to start out with entering a conversation and saying, Jesus will save you from your sin. Because quite frankly, your neighbors don't think they need saving from sin. They think they need saving from you. But the idea that your dignity is wrapped up in something that is eternal and that is protected and that is cherished by a holy God, that's new information.
When I was 16, I visited Romania with my youth group, and we spent a week in Romania serving in an orphanage there. And on the Sunday, we worshipped with a small house church. And I'll never forget that Sunday morning, because a girl my age walked in, and she had a guitar slung over her shoulder. She was there to lead the worship. And she flung her arms around me, and she said, almost shouting in my ear, "Sister, I am so glad that there are Christians even in England." And I'll never forget this moment, because I had grown up in London in privilege with a whole lot of educational and other resources. And she'd grown up in Romania on a farm under communism with poverty and a lack of access to opportunities that I had. And yet as soon as she saw me, she recognized me as her sister, and she treated me like my own sister would and flung her arms around me. Christianity has always been a movement of love across difference. And we saw that in Jesus' ministry. We saw it in the early church as people from different people groups and ethnicities, Jew and Gentile, slaves and masters, rich and poor, men and women, disabled and healthy, were brought together in this one body reality. It's so easy for us as Christians to hear this kind of language and to let it wash over us, that other Christians are our brothers and sisters, that we are one body. But the Bible is serious about that, and we need to be serious about redefining even what that looks like for us on a Sunday morning as we encounter other people. Are we treating them as family, or are we treating them as distant relatives who we have nothing much to do with? And the other extraordinary dynamic in the Christian faith is that this love across difference spills out from the church into every other part of the world. So Jesus famously called us to love not just our friends, not just our family, not just those with whom we have some kind of positive relationship, but to love our enemies. And it is in that encounter of love across difference that we see one aspect of what the gospel means, which is Jesus reaching out across a difference that was more than any human difference could be to connect with us in love.